very good evening to one and all. Center of Excellence in Safety Engineering and Analytics, CoE-SEA, wholeheartedly welcomes all our dear participants to week 69 of Weekend Talk on Safety Engineering Management and Analytics. The event is conducted under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which commemorates 75 years of India's independence. Today we begin with this beautiful slogan, Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amridam Gamaya, praying to Almighty to lead us from ignorance to truth, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Now let me welcome our dignitaries onto the virtual dais. We have Professor J. Maiti, who is the chairman of the center, Professor O.B. Krishna, who is the convener of the event, and our expert speaker for the day, Mr. Harikumar A. Mr. Harikumar Ambalaparambal is the Chief Executive Officer of Udupi Cochin Shipyard Limited, Karnataka, India. He started his career as a junior engineer with EPC company Fortech Private Limited at Mangalore Yard in 1987. He joined Cochin Shipyard as a graduate engineer trainee in 1988 and served Cochin Shipyard for 20 years in various capacities and got promoted to the level of Assistant General Manager. He left the services of Cochin Shipyard in 2008 and joined Tebma Shipyards Limited as the General Manager Technical and served Tebma for 6 years. Later, he joined Larsen & Turbo Shipbuilding at Chennai as the Head of Engineering and served about 7 years. In February 2021, he became the Chief Executive Officer of Tebma Shipyards Limited, now a wholly owned subsidiary of Cochin Shipyard Limited and a central public sector undertaking under the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. He has more than 3 decades of hands-on experience in shipbuilding, ship repair and project management. He is also a fellow of Institution of Engineers India and also of Institute of Marine Engineers India. CoE-SEA wholeheartedly welcomes you to this event, sir, and we are very grateful to you for accepting our invitation. So now I kindly invite Professor Krishna to formally welcome our expert speaker.
Thank you, Sven. First of all, I'm sorry, Mr. Hari Kumar. I have to request you, even your health is not good. You said he's on medication. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and giving a talk in our weekly safety talk. See, especially the operating people, talking on safety is the requirement of the day. We say that real operating CEO is the chief safety officer of the organization. The DuPont, which is the world-renowned safety and materials production company, there all the CEOs are the chief safety officers. The CEOs take the responsibility of the chief safety officer. That is the tradition in the DuPont. That's why they don't have any incidents for years together, though they run very, very hazardous processes. We are really eager to see you as a production man. How do you see safety? Rightly you have taken the topic. This will be very useful to many production people are there in this viewers list. And afterwards, when we upload this to YouTube, many people from production people view these things. So that will be very, very useful. Your talk would be very, very useful to many of the viewers. This is the first talk we have put from the shipyards. We have from various organizations. From shipyard, this is the first talk we are having. Thank you for accepting. I'll leave the floor to you. You can take over, Mr. Hari Kumar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to make this small presentation today, not only for me, but I feel for my industry also, because generally engineers in shipyard do not get invited to make talks like this. So I have to thank the Center of Excellence, IIT Kharagpur, and especially Mr. B.G. Menon, who was kind enough to contact me and give me an introduction to the Center of Excellence in Safety, and for inviting me to this August forum to make a presentation. At the outset, I have to say that I'm not a person who can be called an academician. I am, as I say jokingly to many of my colleagues, I'm a dumb mechanical engineer trying to do a day's job. So I will walk you through how we make it possible for us to work safely in a shipyard. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. I am basically focusing on the aspects that we do to make sure that we don't lose man days, we don't lose people's health. We are working in a manner which is safe. Having said that, the first question that I have always been asking myself, to me, what is safety? As a production manager, as a project manager, what is safety to me? I will say safety is that function in this in my organization which ensures that my organization's objectives are met without causing any damage or undesirable effects to my men and my materials, and in good time. So we look at it from this perspective. And it is also important nowadays that a business is running in a safe manner, in a manner which is not creating environmental hazards, and which is helping people to have good work-life balance. All these things are important for the organization to stay in business and to be competitive in the market. That is why, if you see, earlier when I started doing my job, it was only safety officer. Then now it became HSC. Now there is ISO 45001. Then there is OSHAS. People go for much more fancy thing. My last shipyard, it was the first institution in India, or I don't know whether it is the first institution in Asia, shipyard in Asia, to get golden sword of honor from British Safety Council. That means safety is becoming more and more important to the business as we go on. So how do I? So it is very relevant that people in the academic world also get some exposure to as to what we at a shipyard looks at safety. This picture shows a ship which has been dry docked for repair. So shipbuilding and ship repair, both of them are called 3D jobs: dirty, difficult, and dangerous. So I will try to walk you through how we make this job as safe as possible. Before we start, this slide gives you where is workplace safety in shipyard at large at Singapore. Because if you see near India, one place which has serious shipbuilding and ship repair together, Middle East has ship repair, Singapore has both shipbuilding and ship repair. That is why I took the statistics of shipbuilding and ship repair. If you see the accident frequency rate, incidents per million hours in Sembawang shipyard is 0.57. It is going from 0.57 to it is hovering around 0.6 to 0.45. There around it is hovering. And accidents per man days, severity rate, if you see, this is also, it's varying, but there is more or less it is something like 300 per million man hours, somewhere it is hovering. So coming to India, you can see the rate is somewhere near, if you see Sembawang is 0.64 to 0.56. Cochin Shipyard, my parent company and the group is hovering somewhere around 0.36 in 2019 to 0.07 in 2021. How Cochin Shipyard has been able to bring this good result is basically because we do not do anything in an unsafe manner, and there is a very elaborate procedure that is being followed to ensure that we work safely. I will walk you through that process. Before we get into the details, it's very interesting. In an organization, everybody thinks of safety on a different angle. Let us say a ship was being done and it is to be fueled to go for sea trials or before delivery. You, on a normal cargo ship, you will be taking something like 300 to 400 tons of fuel for the trial trip, and much more than that for the delivery, after delivery, for the owner to take the vessel home. A safety officer in many shipyards feel that when a ship is being fueled, all the nearby ships also should stop doing electrical work and hot work, because this possesses some fire threat. But for an operational man, I would say I will stop such works on board my ship. But a ship which is tied up 500 meters away from my ship, what is the problem? So there always some conflict occurs, and somehow we have to resolve it and go forward. In a factory, another instance, if I say in a factory, once this engineer was me only, I found one small unsafe act being formed. So I stopped the work. I told them not to do this. Go to the safety. Get a right method to do this. And I told the safety man, "Arey, you need to do a pep talk to these people, because normal fitters, some of them may be ignorant, or and they need some hand holding, some sort of giving a talk or motivation, something like that." 2 days after that, the poor fitter comes to me and tells me he got a charge sheet from safety, because the safety man, it is a very serious error. For me, I think, okay, I found something unsafe. I have stopped it. I told the safety man to talk to this person and then motivate him and educate him and make sure that he does not make a mistake. So there are differences. Again, coming to the very simple case of personal protective equipment, it's very important for a safety person or safety officer or a CEO or a senior management person. But for a normal production worker, PPE is something to keep safety man away. So within an industry itself, there is different ways in which safety is looked upon, and there are some conflicting views within the organization. So as a factory, we have to live with all these conflicts and make sure that we do deliver a ship in good time. Now, coming to how we focus in a shipyard in respect of safety, I have listed out about 5 major headings in which we follow very thoroughly or judiciously, religiously, which has helped us in keeping our accident rates or unsafe incident rate very low. So I will walk you through this, and if you have questions about any of this, you can ask. We start with the basic workplace safety requirements. So, unlike a factory where a material gets processed and a final product comes out, in a ship, what happens is the product is stationary and everything goes to the product and the product gets completed. If you ask me whether shipbuilding is a production process, you can say it is a production process. I would say it is more of a project type of job. So there are multiple functions, multiple disciplines working at the same time, and depending on the size of the ship, a large number of people go to the ship. So a proper means of access is very important for a ship. And in a ship, there are 2 situations where people have to access the ship. One is when the ship is taking shape on a dry dock or a dry berth or a slipway, where the ship is stationary And another one is when the ship was afloat. If you see the bottom figure in this, the top figure shows the ship which is in a on the shore, and the bottom figure shows where the ship is in water. Here, the gangways are done in such a way that even the tidal differences does not create a problem for the worker to go in and come out, because if you see on the bottom there are rollers provided, so as the ship moves in the sea, the gangway also moves, and it always provides a safe access for people. So this is very important for a shipyard, because large number of people at a stage, depending on the size of the ship, 300 to 400 people may go in a 100-meter, 120-meter ship. So safe access is the first and foremost important thing for a shipyard to provide for his workmen or a workforce, and this there are standards which we follow for that. Then, in a ship, if you see, except probably the deck and the wheelhouse, you have confined spaces all over. If you take a normal cargo ship, only the accommodation area to some extent can be told to be open. The other areas are confined spaces with no windows, no doors, nothing. And you have to send manpower in these areas to do works like welding, cutting, fitting up of outfits, fitting up of machinery, alignment, setting to work, commissioning, etc. And in a ship during the construction stage, permanent lighting, permanent ventilations will not be on. And in the case of a cargo vessel, there will be no permanent ventilation in the cargo spaces. And many of the, if it is an oil tanker and all, there will be no lights. There will be temporary lights will have to be rigged. So we have to provide clear ventilation to the people who are going in and working. If you see, normally we use axial flow fans or radial flow fans. Both are used. If there are more than one manhole available for a tank, we can use an axial flow fan on one of the openings and use the other opening for inlet and exit of people. Or if it is a single opening tank, we can use axial flow fan with hoses and the flexible hoses and things like that. So you can see the slide where this thing is given. So this kind of fans, depending on the size of the tank or the size of the confined space, we use multiple ventilation fans, ventilation ducts, etc., and make sure that adequate amount of air is given to the people and the air is circulated. If hot work is there, you use a suction fan and a supply fan so that fumes are extracted and fresh air is sent into the confined space continuously, so that the personnel who are in the tank are as comfortable as possible inside the confined space, and they can perform their job to the best manner possible. Again, one of the hazards involved with working in confined spaces and ventilation is, in a shipyard, you will always have oxyacetylene torches and compressed air hoses available in the shipyard. Compressed air is used for running grinding machines, running small drilling machines, for gouging, for chipping, a lot of such production related activities. And oxyacetylene hoses are always there on board a ship for gas cutting. So there is a tendency among the common workers to use the oxygen, because it is pressurized oxygen which is used for cutting. Use that to get a little bit more comfort. You remove the oxygen hose from connection from the torch and use it to get some more cool air. Some of the accidents which has happened in shipyards, if you see the results, they are terrible, because you have an atmosphere enriched with oxygen, and you are creating fuel also by way of your working. Suppose you are doing something like working with materials like wood or things like that, and it just gets a flash, then it is a disastrous result. What happens? So this we always make sure that this is not done. So one of the ways which we did in our shipyard to make sure that people do not use this is constant vigil inside inside confined spaces, continuous education of people about the ill effects of using oxygen. Another thing that we do is we never allow people to leave horses in case there is no cutting. So people say cutting horses are long, it is difficult to take. So one of the things which we have tried out and were successful is to rig up hard plumbing on board ships through the entire main alleyways and limit the length of oxyacetylene hoses to about 20 meters so that people uh, cannot say that it is heavy to carry oxygen acetylene hose when not in use, because 20 meters of hose you can shift any number of times. This was one area where we try to improvise something to the um, to the comfort of the worker and to ensure safety, and where we got good results. So one of our practices is that we use oxyacetylene hoses to the minimum length possible, 20 meters, because considering the size of a tank or a confined space, that is minimum that is required for a person to work in different locations. And we have hard plumbing with isolation valves at regular intervals, so that in case of in the unlikely event of a undesirable incident, also you can always isolate the thing. Second thing that we look at is general lighting. See, as I said, most of the compartments in a cargo ship will have no lighting, and we will have to provide lighting. So what we do is generally we use 110-volt light for general lighting in confined spaces, which is safe, which is not creating a health hazard situation. And where painting is going on, where work with the materials like puff is going on, we use 24-volt lamps. That too is explosion proof um, holders, so that there is absolutely no chance of any sparks being generated by a light that a bulb that breaks, or um, a bulb that get damaged or any such thing. And 110-volt also ensures that there is a unhazardous less hazard power source for lighting. Um, So also these lights are very regularly inspected and corrected, so that glare is avoided to the best way possible, and clear light is available. Shadows we monitor and make sure that there are no dark corners. So these are all things which we do to keep general lighting comfortable. Uh, now we come to next important point: housekeeping. Housekeeping is another thing which is very important. One of the biggest problems which we face in India is that people generally, if you see the amount of we live in a place with very high population, and we generate a lot of garbage. So little bit of here and there garbage accumulating and all, people do not even see. That is my feeling. So we on in the shipyard we make sure that good housekeeping is always done, and on a day-to-day basis the debris and the scrap and the waste generated is removed. So how we do it is we in my shipyard we follow a few things. One, Every contractor or every company who is working in my company, the work order stipulates that they have to clean their work every day. Again, if we find that this is not happening, senior most people, general managers, level people, we go there and personally make sure that housekeeping is done. We also participate in the housekeeping. We don't shy away from doing a half a day's housekeeping. If with all this also, we make sure that the health and safety officer assigned to the vessel has to make sure that has to certify that regular housekeeping was done by the party who has put up this bill, so that his payment can be recommended. This had a very good result in our shipyard. We made sure that ships are clean, things are where it is, day-to-day basis, things are removed, and we have safe walkways, dedicated escape routes, everything is maintained. So these are few things which are necessary to ensure proper housekeeping, proper storage of materials, removal of scrap, waste, debris at appropriate intervals, materials, equipment which are not immediately required at the site should not be placed or allowed to accumulate at the. This is very important. Everybody has got a tendency to stock a week's work needed material at site. So what we do in our shipyard is we create transit areas where they can stock, and only necessary material will be allowed to be taken on board. Then passageways, we always, when there is a flushing machine, when there is a oil related drums or something, we always use a save oil tray so that oil does not get spilled onto the deck and create slippery areas. Nuts and bolts are never allowed to be left idling. Rubbish, dirt, cutting wheels, welding electrodes, buffing wheels, everything. Everything we make sure that this goes, and areas are clean and safe for people to work. And we always make sure, as I said, we had practiced hard plumbing with minimal cutting hoses. And we also make very dedicated pathways or cable routes for temporary cabling used for lighting equipment and temporary power, providing temporary power to the ship, always making sure that gases and power are always kept on different what you call separately separated, so that electric spark leading to ignition of gases and things like that do not happen. This is a very tiring exercise, but what we do is we generally make the production man also responsible for that. When the production man comes up with a work permit, he has to sign that all this is done, and then this the safety man only has to cross check and give. So it is safety becomes everybody's business. So what we see is everybody is a safety officer. So that is how we manage this. Few pictures just to give you a feel of some good housekeeping practices and some bad housekeeping practices. And I can say when 300, 400 people work on board a very small vessel, it's very difficult to get this kind of housekeeping done on a day-to-day basis. But what we practice is the senior most people make sure that they inspect the vessel, they take rounds and make sure that these things are kept spick and span so that you do not run into problems. There is no shortcut for this, unfortunately. Some more pictures of good practices and bad practices for you to see. And these are all taken on board vessels. These were all conditions which we used to face at one point of time. And after we started educating, that's the results which we have seen. So both these are from our own organizations only. So we also had problems at some point of time. We have worked very hard to bring it back to very good systems with continuous training, continuous motivation, and continuous engagement with the people concerned. We come to second thing is scaffolding. You have to do scaffolding for shipbuilding work, for doing various activities, for the hull to be constructed, access for fit up, welding, weld visual, NDT, etc. Then for painting, then for electrical work, then for piping work, then for outfitting work, inside and outside, all the areas we need to put staging. So shipbuilding uses built-up type of staging, totally made of steel. And in our yard, we have stagings which can be quickly assembled and dismantled. So this is the general view of the staging that you see. We have some more pictures. Then I will explain how we will be done. We will be doing it. If you see the staging at a workplace, there is one platform where people are supposed to work, and there are handrails provided in the areas where people are working, and then around 2 to 2.5 meters behind it there is another platform. This platform is a safety platform, because this staging which is put for people to work, they have to work along with their tools and tackles like hammers, strong backs, wedges, maybe pipe pieces or welding, small welding sets, a variety of equipments they will have to use, tools. And people have to stand, they have to work, they have to exert force, and they have to keep their tools and tackles. So stagings are designed to work safely. And always, no staging is accepted without ladders for access. And there are working platforms and safety platforms, I said. So this is something like a staging will look like. And approach ladder is always given for going into the place of work. And this is the basically the staging. It comprises of verticals. This is the vertical portion. This long pipe, we call it ledger, and across small members we call transoms. So we have vertical, ledger, transom, and between the transoms we have planks. If you see, this is between the transoms plank is put, and we make sure that our staging design is we can put 5 planks on a platform. So there are 5 boards are compulsorily to be put. Then only we allow staging people to work on staging, and then 1 handrail and a safety handrail, 2 handrails. This is used as handrails, and this can also be used for the people to hook their safety belts when they are working, so that they are doubly safe. So hazards of working on scaffolding is one of this is falling, persons falling. Another one is fall of articles. Another one, people throwing down materials. And third thing is scaffolding structure getting deformed or displaced because of the process of work. So we every day as staging inspector follows the staging which is being used and tags it. And about 2 meters, it is compulsory in our yard that they have to use a proper safety belt with a safety lifeline with a safety belt. This is compulsory for us. So we make sure that nobody is working under the risk of a fall. And after the staging is rigged, a written form is to be filled up, and permission from safety to be taken. So this all makes it. See, you have when you are made to sign something that brings in a lot of accountability to the person concerned. So this is one thing which we are using among many permits, a staging permit. And depending on daily use, every set of staging is given a tag, scaffolding tag. Either it can be used or it cannot be used. So nobody will go with our levels of trainings are so good that Nobody will go on board a staging which is said no scaffolding, and people will go only on staging which has got this green safe to use staging. Another thing is gas cutting. I mentioned gas cutting. Um, Gas cutting previously also. So the hazards with gas cutting, as I said, if that oxygen is being used as a coolant, then man cooler, then it can cause a problem. If acetylene leaks, then it can flood the compartment and create problem. A cutting set can backfire. That can create a problem. That can create a problem. A hose can catch fire. A hose which is having a small cut, gas can leak through there and catch fire. There are varieties of problems involved with gas cutting. So few things what we do to make sure gas cutting is safe is that every gas cutting equipment, as I said, will be removed. Will be removed from the workplace or enclosed spaces when not in use, even during breaks or at the end of the shift. For this is what I said. We will have only 20 meters of hose, which will help the man to work safely. Flashback arresters are compulsory between the hoses and regulators, and we do not allow hoses to be fixed to the torch with any jugad. We always make sure it is properly either properly crimped fitting or with a proper jubilee clip. This is done. So these are some cares which we take during in case of hot work and in case of horses going to confined spaces. We do not allow the people to start working unless the safety man checks the hose with a soap solution and makes sure that there are no leakages. So again, if we are using in our yard, we use cylinders. So we use cylinders in upright position. For that, we have dedicated trolleys which are made and which can be lifted and positioned near the work in case we have to use cylinders. Or from the gas bank, cylinders are always kept vertical and only the hard plumbing goes. And gas cylinders, never ever in any condition we allow any gas cylinder to be taken to any enclosed spaces or confined spaces. This is a total no-go for us. Electric arc welding is another job we do. Here also the risks of fire, explosion, electrical shock, fumes, radiation, asphyxiation, all these hazards are there. And one of the things you have to understand, welding is a very peculiar profession because welder works alone. Other people all work in teams of two people because on board a ship, if you are doing fitting up, you need two people to work. If you are doing machinery alignment, you need at least two people. But welders work alone, so their safety is much. The hazards they face is much more severe than other people. So we have so much control measures in respect of welding. So we are not allowing any oil or other combustible material near the welding cables which has got cut insulation where the conductor is exposed. We never allow it to be used. We never allow cables to run through water which would have accumulated due to rain or anything. And we only allow approved insulated joining jigs for joining the cables, and size of the cable we monitor, and cable should be routed. We have cable routes which are on which will help a cable to be routed slightly elevated level so that it does not lie down on the floor. And we insist that ELCBs are fitted on all AC welding machines. And of course, above all this, protective clothing like aprons, gloves, goggles, everything we make it compulsory for welders. Without that, no welder is allowed to weld. And here also there are something to be seen. See, like when the welder is welding on a elevated platform and he has to move around, they have a tendency to roll some of the cable and keep it on their shoulder. We are very stringent about it. This is a total no go in our shipyard. This we do not allow this another cloth to be tied on the helmet, which is also a risk. And we never allow painting and welding to go simultaneously in a shipyard. These are some of the things which we look at welding. And painting is another important thing that we do in a shipyard. So we have surface preparation like blasting, high pressure, hydroblasting with high pressure water for cooling. So this also creates risks. It creates fumes and dust, high level noise and vibration, eye injury, respiratory discomfort, dust explosion, etc. So here also we have control measures. Um, Blasting enclosures such as chamber cabinet will are provided around the area where blasting is carried on. We have in our shipyard we have humidity controlled blasting booths where most of the blasting take place, and here proper ventilation, proper lighting, everything is provided. There is a fume extractors, there is dust collectors. So people work in comfortably here, and personal protective equipments which cover them from head to toe so that they are not exposed to the pressure or the abrasive, and they can work safely. You can see how their personal protective equipments which they use, right from headgear with oxygen with air supply, and dresses covering all their body, and things like that. Again, painting also creates toxic fumes or vapors, eye injury, irritation, fire. Um so here what we do, as I said earlier, we do not allow, when a painting is going on in an enclosed compartment, we do not allow hot work to happen while the painting is going on. So painting is always made to do at a time where other works are not happening. And after the painting also, for at least 2 to 3 hours, we do not allow hot work to happen. And for the painting also, 24-volt explosion proof lights are only provided. And this kind of safety things we do to make sure that painting is done safely. These are the OHS control measures which we use for painting. When painting is being performed inside confined spaces, sufficient exhaust ventilation shall be provided. Painters shall be protected by suitable respiratory protective mask. No hot works are allowed. Open flame marks. So these are some of the things which we religiously follow. And touch wood, we are so far we have been maintaining very safe environment and working condition for our painting colleagues. Entry into the confined space. Entry into the confined space again, in both in shipbuilding and ship repair, there are multiple hazards there. There can be toxic gases. There can be oxygen deficiency. It can be a flammable. It can be a flammable atmosphere. So, but you have to go and do work in confined spaces. So what we do is we have unless a valid permit to work is obtained or issued, we do not allow people to go and work in confined spaces. And as I said at the starting, there will be air supply provided either by breathing apparatus if it is a small work which needs where rigging up a big thing, big ventilation thing is not practical, or a proper mechanical ventilation where people have to go for longer times and they have to work longer times. Then we inspect the confined spaces on a daily basis for presence of 21% of oxygen, and absence of toxic, harmful gases, inflammable gases. So this on a daily basis is monitored, and then only we allow people to go inside confined spaces to work. So that helps us to keep our confined spaces safe for our people to work. And this happen in fuel tanks which has taken fuel, or in fuel tanks or cargo tanks of oil tankers which come for repair. When nobody is allowed to go inside the tank unless the tank is ventilated, and Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization gives a man entry. Once that man entry is given, then the tank is cleaned and ventilated again, and then again an inspection by Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization takes place, and they give a gas-free certificate of hot work. And only where the hot work is permit is given, we allow people to go. Even after the PESO gives the hot work permit, every day before the work starts, the gas levels in the tank are measured, and if there is any undesirable change, it's a stop work and then clean again and again bring back Petroleum Explosive Safety Organization and get it recertified. So there is no compromise we do on this. So our confined space and our fuel tanks, we always ensure that they are safe for our people to go and work. So this is confined space entry. We have work permit. So this is a sample work permit for confined space entry. So unless this is raised by the concerned person and certified and allowed by the concerned project manager and safety manager in case of a new build, and cleared by safety and cleared by the ship's competent engineer or navigator, we do not allow confined space entry. Again, this is easier said than done, and to make people aware, at every confined space we have three types of tags. One is no entry, one is man entry, and one is hot work. So people at a glance itself, they can see whether that area is good for them to enter, good for them to do hot work, or good for them to enter only. So this is very religiously followed, so that people do not have any doubts whether they can get into an area or not. This is a gas detection meter which we use for detecting the gas. As I said, every confined space gas levels are monitored on a daily basis, and only when we find that these areas are safe, we allow people to go inside. Another important aspect is material handling. See here, it is always important to make sure that we are handling materials in a very safe manner. There can be problems with the crane. There can be issues of lifting tools and tackles becoming defective and getting failed. And there can be instances of materials dropping down from lifts you are making. So here we in our yard, every lifting tackle is tested periodically as stipulated by the factory's rule, by a competent person and tagged, and such equipments are only allowed to be used. And before every lift, every heavy lift, we have a toolbox meeting where the material to be used, the slings to be used, the lifting plan, the position of the rigger, everything is discussed and signed off, and before any heavy lift. And the areas are cordoned off, and only the concerned people with the lifts are allowed in the vicinity of the lift. These are all things which we do to make sure that lifting and turning operations are done. Turning is another important thing, because while building a ship, most of the time we build the blocks upside down and they have to be turned to be positioned. So this is also very important. So these kind of things we make sure so that we lift and turn blocks in a safe manner. Industrial radiography is something which we cannot avoid. So these are uh, things which we do. There's a typo error here. Radiation can, it's not radiation can be seen, it is radiation cannot be seen. So please, I'm sorry that the typo has got into this, despite reading it 2-3 times. My apologies. So this is regarding safety of industrial radiography. So these are the measures which we do. We do radiography only when it is nil or low occupancy. Officer in charge intimates the nearby process owners about radiography. Properly, we cordon off the area. We ensure that display warnings are there. We do not allow anybody to enter into the cordoned area. We ensure that radiographic camera is operated only by certified people. We use radiation survey meter, carry out radiography with proper collimator. All this we do to make sure that radiography, and touch wood, we have been very good in respect of radiographic safety in our yard. Now we come to the third part. There are safe work plans and work permit systems. See, what we religiously do in our shipyard is every day starts with a stand-up toolbox meeting where the day's work is discussed in detail to make sure that conflicting or different disciplines do not clutter in one area, creating confusion. So work plans are every day discussed and decided who will work in which area. Because if you see, a painter and a welder cannot work together, an alignment technician and a fitting technician cannot work together. So there are people who need their own safe and sound things. Our site work plans, we make sure that people do not clutter and everybody gets their time to do their work properly. And we have an array of work permits. I will go through those things. We have got hot work permit, entry to confined area, working at heights, painting, pressure testing of hydraulic lines, radiography, transferring of fuel, electrical shutdown. These are for ships. In the case of our yard installations, for work at height or roof, excavation of trenches and opening, yard civil works, for everything we have permit to work. So these are some of the examples of permit works. So more or less, no work takes place in our shipyard without a valid permit, and permits are generally given from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. And if after 5 o'clock somebody has to work, they have to take a further permit to work after 5 o'clock, so that the safety, the production, and all concerned know that such a work is going on and it can be monitored and ensured that it happens very safely. Last but the least, personal protective equipments. If you see the hierarchy of controls, the last one is the personal protective equipment. But nevertheless, this also plays a very important role for protecting people from undesirable happenings. And it is compulsory in our yard to have personal complete every person completely attached with this personal protective equipment before he is allowed on board a ship or in a shop for working. So these are the personal protective things which are common. We have safety helmets, we have face shield and goggles for eye protection, and safety shoe with the steel toe is compulsory. Normal shoes we don't allow people to go in. Safety shoes is a must. Then for painting people, respiratory protective air filtering type masks, self breathing apparatus, like somebody has to go to a confined space alone for a small inspection or anything, we make sure that he is carrying a breathing apparatus. Earmuffs when they are working in machinery spaces or where workers happening like pneumatic chipping or pneumatic grinding. Such things are happening. Then radioactive protective clothing and mask for people who work on radioactive material. Safety belt, I said, more than 2 meter height safety belt, full body harness is. We insist on that for ensuring that fall danger is not happening. Now, with all this, also we have problems. Problems can happen because what has to go wrong can go wrong. And towards this, we have contingency plans. We have ambulances. And we have emergency response teams for firefighting, first aid, resuscitation, shutdown procedures, evacuation procedures, chemical spill, self-contained breathing apparatus, search and rescue. And on a regular basis, we conduct classes by safety officers for our staff plus our contractors, workmen. And mock drills are conducted at regular intervals like firefighting, search and rescue, all these things we conduct mock drills also, so that there is always a level of preparedness in the yard in people in the unlikely event that something goes wrong. So these are what we do on a daily basis to ensure that we work safely. And from an operator's point of view, this is how we make our shipyard safe place for people to work. And touch wood, thank God, we have been successful till now. Thank you very much. And if you want to ask me questions, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this wonderful lecture and sharing the practices what you follow. So now we have a few questions in the chat box. So I'll take one by one. So our first question is, what is the rescue system to take out people from the ship confined space in case of emergency?
See, in case of emergency, when you have to take a person, you have to have a stretcher, strap him to that, and bring out. And depending on situations, maybe you'll have to be vertically lifted, or he can come out horizontally. There are different kinds of issues we form. What we do is we improvise whatever we can think about and continuously do mock drills to try to bring out people, so that we always have people who can lift people vertically, people who can carry people vertically and bring them out so that they can be safely transported down. There is no automatic system. This is practice, practice, practice. So at least once in 3 months we have this practice sessions. That is what has kept us safe. Because and thank God, in my shipyard, I have so far not had a untoward incidents in a confined space, so that I have to actually put this into practice.
Thank you, sir. So our next question is, why are Indian shipyards lagging in terms of safety and hazard management compared to European or Korean shipyards?
Sir, it's a very interesting question. I'll tell you one simple example. I was building a house. So my interior decoration people came in, and I went to my home to supervise the job one day. I found people spitting all over the place. They were all chewing tobacco and spitting all over the place. So I asked that person, "Why are you doing this? This is somebody's house." He said, "This is my practice." So it's the same people who are working in shipyards also. See, safety, security, cleanliness, everything is what you call. It's all a culture. Unfortunately, we are we are we have to learn a lot. See, in my shipyard, I have to frisk people to make sure that they do not carry tobacco. See, people who have tobacco, they are in nasha and they can create, they can do mistakes. They can create accidents faster. Any amount of pep talk that we do, I ask my worker if I see somebody chewing tobacco, do you hate your parents? Do you hate your wife? Do you hate your children? But so sorry to say, the message does not sink in. So unless enforcement is not the right thing, because we have to ensure the safety of our people, we enforce. But enforcement is not the right way to do. I feel with our present initiatives in skill development, present initiatives in Swachh Bharat and all that, people's sense of cleanliness and doing things properly will increase. And I am sure if we move in this path, at one point of time, a safety officer will be ideal. He will not have to enforce. Right now, we have to enforce, and that is what, to me, that is what is the problem. Awareness have to increase. So we have now started skill development programs and things like that in right earnest. And I feel we should be reaching where Japan or Korea is there at one point. See, I'll tell you, in Japan, I have seen a man comes to do the work, he does the work, he cleans it, he does everything and he goes. Here, I have to ask that unless my safety officer certifies that he keeps does housekeeping, I will not pay him. You see the difference. So this is a mentality which has to develop. We are trying to develop it, and I hope we should be reaching there sooner, because it is only 7 years since we started talking about Swachh Bharat.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. So our next question is several messages along shipyard poor safety performance. How to prevent this condition, sir?
This is, as I said, sir, we are not a safety conscious people. I'll tell you, sir. I'll tell you one simple example. In India, helmet is compulsory, and you have to be fined if you do not wear a helmet. Why? Why we should be fined? Why we are not thinking? I see every day people who are traveling in a bike carrying helmet on their shoulder. Why is that? And when they see a policeman, they put they don that helmet. So this sir, people coming into a shipyard are the same people who are carrying their helmet on the shoulder and driving their bike. So it is, unfortunately, enforcement is the only way to do, and this probably is one of the reasons why we have unsafe work. I'll tell you another example. About 6 months back, I went to a factory which has a state of the art laser cutting machine. They are doing for multinationals, and I entered that shop. I just came out because it is so cluttered or so unsafe that you cannot work there. This is a question of mentality. About 1 year back, I took a Singaporean consultant to a machine shop in Chennai to do some machining. That consultant did not enter the shop because we do not feel that doing it the right way. I feel when education improves and people get aspirations of living better, this will change. See, uh, 1 month back, I was in USA, and I was mingling with some factory, like the same factory workers whom I was working with here, same people with same educational levels and better skills or same skills. But their outlook towards life is very different. They do not feel that they are anything inferior to an officer or they are anything superior to an officer. Here, sir, unfortunately, see, I'll tell you, a lady is sweeping the floor. We do not feel anything bad when we are walking straight through that. We do not, I will say, we do not consider that lady who is sweeping her job as important. When we start thinking of our workplace as an important place and everybody's work as important, it's a continuous process, sir. That is why in my shipyard, if cleaning is starting, I make sure I go and start the cleaning. I do a man's work, and then only I ask my people to do the work. I think if that top down approach comes everywhere, our shipyards will become safe.
Yes, thank you, sir. So our next question is regarding fire safety. So, what are the active and passive fire control systems used in case of any fire breakouts?
See, every place we have fire extinguishers, and fire extinguishers are kept depending on the kind of fire chance, like a DCP or a CO2 extinguisher, things like that. That is used for the first level of firefighting. If it does not come, we have hydrant system, and that is how we have been able to control small fires which happen. So these are the main two things: the right kind of fire extinguishers and a fire hydrant system.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, I'm taking the last question for today's session. Who does scaffolding erection and dismantling?
There are in some shipyards they have shipyards on scaffolders. We have a precondition for the scaffolder. See, that is one point which I did not mention. Every worker who comes into our shipyard, he goes through HSC training and a trade test before he is put on the job. So scaffolding, when the scaffolders come, we give them test scaffoldings to do, and we make sure these workers are good enough to do the scaffolding. Then only we allow them to do the work, and we do not allow these people to be rotated frequently. So a scaffolding company comes, they stay with us for a project, and they do the scaffolding erection and dismantling. We do not allow the other workers to do scaffolding erection and dismantling. It's a dedicated team.
Yes, thank you, sir. Now, I would request Professor Menon to provide vote of thanks to our expert speaker. Over to you, sir.
So am I audible, Sri?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Yes, yes. So good evening to you all. Good evening. So we are having Mr.
Sir, one second. I'll stop sharing. I'm not able to see you.
Oh, please.
One
Please.
moment. Yeah.
Yes, I think now you can see me.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. So today we had Mr. Hari Kumar from CEO from Udupi Shipyard, and I think in 2002 I first met Hari Kumar sir in Cochin Shipyard Limited when I came for a 1 month training in Cochin Shipyard in the month of April. And I was put under his training for 1 month, and he was the head of outfit section, and he was very busy assembling the Sulsar engine for the oil tanker Maharshi Parashuram, which was the double hull tanker, the first built in India. I hope he understands and remembers. So that time the practice was very simple. That he used to take me with him to the work floor. That is, work floor means it is inside the vessel itself. The huge Sulsar engine, which is almost 2 to 3 floored building height, it was being built from scratch, assembled from scratch, and he walked me through all this process. And perhaps I was very excited to learn how this engine was assembled. And I asked you very jovially one question, which was you. I think you are not very happy.
Balagopal, I have lost you.
Am I visible to you? Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Visible.
So after 20 years, I again work with you, sir, today. As I was able to visualize every instance you were explaining in the shipbuilding yard, and it was truly a great experience. And I'm very sure that this practical lecture on the practical topics have helped our dear participants also to visualize how the safety management and safety culture is practiced in the Cochin Shipyard Limited. Perhaps I believe Cochin Shipyard is one of the best in Asia, perhaps the best, almost at par with the Japanese shipyards now. And so, on behalf of Center of Excellence in Safety Engineering and Analytics, and on behalf of Professor O.P. Krishna, who is also present here, and all others from CoE-SEA, I extend my sincere thanks to you, sir, for being present here in this fine evening to deliver this exciting and very informative lecture on this topic, very interesting topic. Even your busy schedule and even between your and during your unwell condition today. I heard just now that you are not well and you are in hospital. I really extend my sincere thanks to your generous mentality to be here even between this difficult situation today. Thank you very much. And on behalf of CoE-SEA, I also extend my sincere thanks to all our dear participants today who attended this lecture today in the evening. And I'm sure the lecture has benefited them uh, and they have really enjoyed it. So once again, thanks to you all, one and all. And next week, we will meet once again with an expert lecture by an expert from Bombay Oil Refinery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Balagopal, and thank you, Center of Excellence in Safety. Thank you for this opportunity. And if somebody wants to know more about shipyard safety, you can share my email and number. One-to-one, I can speak better. I'm not a good speaker, I know that. So,
no, thank you very much. Definitely, we will contact you.
You can share my number. If they want to know something specific about something, they can always ask me. I can always share this one because this knowledge is.
Yeah, definitely. We will share your number with our dear participants. And if they want to clear some doubts from their side, they can directly contact you, sir. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.